ever
That's
saw
when I
the
brought it.
video
In
that
advance
they're
of
digging in the
the
yard.
25th,
He said, "Oh, we're gonna be putting
Coming 15 minutes early. Is that off-street parking?
It was never mentioned. I went back and I listened to him, and
How
I
much
no
do you think you're
discussion
gonna
at
need
any
for that?
time. We're digging up your yard.
I saw last
People are
time.
just wanting to start digging.
We'll call the meeting of the regular city council to order on June 11th, 2018 at 7 p.m. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Nahorn?
Present.
Mr. Miller?
Present.
Mr. Janik?
Here.
Mr. Van Turen?
Here.
Mr. Dembinski?
Here.
Mr. Calver?
Here.
Mr. Winarski?
Here.
We'll rise for the prayer by Chaplain Nahorn, followed by the pledge to the flag by Sergeant at Arms Dembinski.
Please join me in bowing your heads. Gracious God, fathers and father figures are often the backbone of our lives, as they provide important life examples and ways in which we might conduct ourselves and provide better lives for others. This month, we especially recognize these men in our lives and appreciate all they have done and provided for us. And now let the words of our mouths and meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your vision. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll go to item 4, the consent agenda.
Minutes of the regular council meeting held May 29, 2018. Minutes of the ordinance committee meeting held June 4, 2018. Minutes of the building and lands committee meeting held June 4, 2018.
Mr. Dembinski.
Move to accept the consent agenda as read.
Mr. Calver.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to accept the consent agenda as read. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion is carried 7-0. We'll go to item 5, acknowledgement of the public pertaining to items on the agenda. Is there anyone here tonight wishing to speak on any item on the agenda? Yes.
I'm here for number 9.
You're Mr. Barrios?
I am Gabe Zeller.
Okay, okay, Mr. Zeller, okay. Would you like to wait till item 9 and then you can speak when that brings up? Is there anyone else wishing to speak on any item? Seeing none, we'll go to item 6, ordinances and resolutions, first reading, item 6A, please.
An ordinance adopting the new chapter 1153 to part 11, title 5 of the Amherst Codified Ordinances, entitled Mobile Vending, pertaining to the regulation of mobile vending and mobile vending devices within the city.
Mr. Winarski.
Thank you, Madam President, and I probably should begin this by asking for your indulgence. I may go a little over my 5 minutes. I'll try my best not to. With that, I compared the document we're considering that has the ordinance written with the earlier document we looked at committee. In addition to that, there's a few things that came up. I would just like to go over this if we could, please. I guess the first question that came up was, how does this impact lemonade stands? It doesn't, does it?
I don't see why it would. I mean, lemonade stand's not a mobile vending unit.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, double check that. Okie dokie. Let's see here.
Mr. Winarski, this is in preparation for you making a motion, correct?
Correct. There's a number of things I want to touch on. Some may require.
Yeah, normally what we do is we have to have a motion before we can have discussion.
Oh.
Are you okay with that, Mr. Papa, if he asks these questions?
Yes.
Thank you. On to page 2, line 1153.03. I think it's just a typo. It says permit application for vending device, and then the word cost. I don't believe the word cost should be in there. Is that a typo?
Which item, Mr. Winarski?
We're on page 2.
Yes.
Item 1153.03.
3, okay.
Correct. I think the word cost got dropped in there somehow. I'm not sure how cost applies
Is
to.
there a letter reference or is it in the main paragraph?
Just in the main title. The very last word in the main title.
Cost. So there's a cost application fee, and the second, and the third page talks about the
Fee.
The fee. So the the cost is the tail end of the provision.
Okay, so if you tell me it's appropriate, I just, it
Yes,
kind
it
of jumped
is.
out at me. I didn't understand
Yeah.
why. Okay. Let's see here. It goes on to discuss, or outline how this may be deemed appropriate by the safety service director. I guess my, my question is, these items here, A through H, is it? No, I'm sorry. Under 1153.03. These are the minimum requirements. The safety service director can expand on this if he wishes, but he can't eliminate any of these items. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. I have a question with letter H. Does this mean that people, when they put in their application, have the opportunity to pick a choice A location and a choice B? Because it describes the location or an alternative location for which the application for the permit is being made. I guess I didn't completely understand what that meant.
I guess it gives the applicant options to submit to the service safety director a proposed location and alternative locations. I mean, it's exactly what it says. So I guess a wise person applying for this may have a number of proposed locations instead of just one.
Okay, thank you. I just wasn't sure, and I apologize. I got more dumb questions for you. We go to page 3. We're still under the same 1153.03, but I go to the very last paragraph under I. Should that last paragraph be letter J?
Okay, 1153.04.
03, sir.
03.
Yes.
Letter I.
Below letter I is a final paragraph that has no letter in advance of it. I was wondering if the letter J should be put in advance of that?
No, that's where the semicolon costs come in. If you
Okay.
because the actual the A through I those are the things that are.
Where you want to locate your.
This is on 04E.
That's correct. I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay.
I just wasn't sure what the certification process is.
So you're asking who that certification comes from? If it comes from the applicant, his or herself? Or
It describes a certification that the location of the venue device will meet. Now, what is the certification?
It says the application for, reading the top of the paragraph, application for a permit for a vending device on private property, on private property shall include the requirements set forth in 1153.03, and in addition shall include the following. So I imagine that person would have to get the certification, unless the mayor tells me otherwise, from the building department, that its location meets those requirements in E.
Okay. Do we need to include that?
Could it say something as simple as a statement, so that he could bring a map, show where the thing's gonna be? I think that's really the intent.
That's the applicant themselves would be saying, my
I think the intent is to show when the.
my vending device will be here, here's the map.
Exactly.
Okay.
I think that's the intent.
Okay.
So when you apply for your application, you're showing that you're gonna be set back far enough, and you're gonna be showing where this thing is.
Yeah,
So
so
rather,
a statement, yeah.
Okay.
does that make more sense?
It does. I mean, just,
A statement from the applicant, that,
that's fine.
yeah. Because I agree, reading it is kind of confusing.
Okay.
Statement from the applicant.
Okay, and this is nitpicky. I'll be the first one to admit it, but it did jump out to me in the same area, letter B. Final part of the first, or letter B, excuse me, the final part of that paragraph. Of the vendor's right to vend on a property. Should that be the ability? I don't believe we grant rights.
Yeah, but the property owner would be given that right to the vendor. This is things that the vendor is required to bring in order to get his application.
Is it right or permission?
What's that?
Is it right or permission? I'm just questioning the use of the word right.
I think it's right. I think it's,
Well, I guess permission might be the better term.
okay.
Yeah. Authorization, permission. You're right, a right sounds kind of lofty.
They're granted by God according to the
That's right.
Constitution, so I don't
that's it.
fancy
We'll call it
myself at that
permission.
level.
Okay.
I agree, permission sounds more appropriate.
Thank you. All right, on to page 4. I appreciate your information here with regards to the design review. in reviewing the application of design review, I appreciate all that information, and it also later in here describes that there's a waiver for dancing on Main Street, and it describes community events. And community events is used repeatedly throughout here with the exception of page 4, the very first paragraph. At the end of it, it goes on to read, mobile vendor is proposing to vend during a special event that has been approved by the city. I believe that should be community event.
Yes, you're right.
In that same area there, letter D, it says all pertinent rules and regulations of the Design Review Board. Design Review Board is really, they operate with, I guess, a purpose, a mission statement, but a lot of their work is based upon opinion, historical information, observation, and appropriateness. Should the words rules and regulations be a change to something such as applicable opinions or opinions of the design review?
Well, in the sense that it says pertinent or relevant rules, so they have to be really relevant to the vending device.
Okay.
So if it's something dealing with awnings that are in buildings, that wouldn't be relevant or pertinent to the. So if you'd rather have relevant rules, because we really don't operate with a lot of hard rules. It's you know, if we observe something, we react to it, we give suggestions, and then we deem it appropriate or not.
I think the rules of the Design Review Board lets you have that opinion, so I truly think rules and regulations is appropriate.
Pertinent standards, would that be more, I mean, you've been on the, in fact, I think you're still on it,
Mm-hmm, correct.
so you know how that board operates.
Right.
And you're saying there's no hard, specific written rules, or?
We have guidelines, mission statement,
There's a-
and job descriptions about each person. Each person brings an opinion.
Should we use the word guidelines instead of rules and regulations?
You'd have to tell me. It just kind of jumped out because we don't operate under hard rules.
Yeah. Imagine you have some rules and regulations.
We do.
I'm sure all the people who come before you would hope you have
Yeah.
something you kind of follow.
No, if you think it's cool as is, I just wanted your opinion because this is.
I think so. I think it's fine because the word pertinent precedes it. It would be, you know, relevant to the mobile devices.
Okay.
So.
Mr.
Sorry.
Winarski, can we take that, or can you also propose that we take out the word and? Design and review board, I noticed it's D.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, design. Oh, yeah. Yeah, part of that would include in letter D, the design review board. It says design and review board. I believe we're called design review, not design
It is,
and
and
review.
that's consistent with the previous paragraph.
Okay. Let's see, page 5, letter K. I believe it's a simple typo that it goes on to describe a place upon sidewalk, street, and I believe it should be comma highway, as opposed to a street highway.
Which letter is that, John?
Letter K.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, you're right, comma.
I wanted to throw a thank you for page 6, section 3. That includes public parking as part of the restriction. Thank you. Let's see, on the same page, bear with me here. I need your opinion, and it would be part of my motion to ask that on section 6, I'm sorry, page 6, section 1153.09, it gives the safety service director the opportunity to grant a mobile vending permit. I'd like to include the approval of council with that also. So just a simple, one-time vote. But, I mean, we're working very hard on this as a group collectively. I think it would be consistent with how we're treating this right now if there's an opportunity to grant this, that it also.
Don't you think, though, that would be an administrative function?
Yeah.
Granting permits, I mean, I forget how many departments we have that grant various permits. I mean, what's the difference? I mean, the city council, I think we're kind of wading into territory that we don't want to wade into. Why are we treating this group any differently than another group that would get a permit by our building department without your input? I understand why you would want that, but it seems kind of really heavy-handed,
Okay.
perhaps.
Okay.
Infringing
Well,
upon some constitutional rights that I don't.
if others agree with you, then so be it, and I'll strike that from my request. But I'll move on here. I just want your opinion. We're going to go to page 8, section 1153.11, item G. It describes vending can only take place on the passenger side of the truck. My concern is one-way streets. Should we be using the word curbside as opposed to?
We've got very few,
Well, and I think this was done intentionally because of the one instance where the individual was turned around and causing people to go out into the street to receive their
Right.
food.
That's why I'm recommending we use the word curbside. It would force them to serve to the curbside as opposed to the street side.
From the curbside of the truck, yeah.
Correct.
but you don't want them pulling off the wrong side of the road.
Well, I believe we have a provision, they're supposed to adhere to our regulations, our traffic regulations. You can't have someone, like that person did, illegally park, he was parked the wrong way, probably.
Yes.
Should have been given a ticket,
Okay.
so.
If, in your opinion, this achieves what we want to achieve without changing the word, I'm fine with that, but it's just something that struck me.
Well, we could say on the passenger side of the truck, adhering to all traffic rules.
And it says right
regulations.
above that, it says you cannot allow pedestrian traffic on any public street or sidewalk. So by not allowing a pedestrian on the street, any manner that impedes, it says impedes, never mind. I didn't get the whole essence of that sentence. I think it's all, I think it's fairly clear.
Well,
Can we add
can we, I guess,
Most
Mr.
trucks are set up
Winiarski's
till they can-
comment.
and curbside?
And curbside.
Passenger side and curbside?
If that achieves what we want, yes.
Well, maybe you should have one or the other, because then, if I were, someone who wants to turn their vehicle around, they could say, well, I did either or, so. I guess the mayor, you know from the mayor what your objection is.
I think they should always be serving off the right-hand side of the truck.
Which is,
So-
should always be on the curbside,
If you're driving,
because
no
your
matter what
driver's
you're
side is
driving.
always in the center of the.
I really think it solves what we need.
Okay. And if it doesn't, I guess we can revisit it.
Exactly.
We
So
can-
so are you gonna propose to change that or not?
No.
No, it was a conversation, and we're getting to the end here, thank you. We're gonna go to page 9, this is 115312. There's items A, B, and this is where I reference our previous notes from last week. There was a letter C. Letter C contained the language, nothing in this chapter shall be construed to require permit for the use of mobile vending devices on private property for private events, parties, and then it goes on and on. I believe letter C was inadvertently left off this ordinance. I believe it should be put back in. If you need a copy of last week's, I have it.
Yeah, I actually have it, yeah. I don't know why that was taken, but that should be back in.
Okay. I'd like to include that, you pin that down.
Now, is this your markup? Or
No,
you're gonna-
this is right here.
Okay, you're gonna go back on it.
Mhm.
Make sure all that's got.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
With that, I believe my motion, well, we're having a conversation, you're okay with that right now. Maybe we should discuss it and I'll come back with a motion later that includes all of it, or how do you feel about this, Madam
I
President?
think we need to have a motion, do we not?
And then
In order
You've
to-
done that.
You need to make motion, and then Mr. Dubinsky comes second.
Okay.
Yeah, I would move to make all those amendments that we discussed and I wrote down, and then you guys should have a discussion.
May I do so, Madam President?
Yeah, let's make sure we've got those.
Okay, thank you. My motion would then be to amend 1153.03. Oh, I'm sorry, no, we decided that wasn't, bear with me, I'm sorry. Thank you,
115304
correct.
E,
Well, start with
From
B,
right to ability,
B,
permission, thank you.
okay, got that.
Okay.
we did.
On 1153.05,
Ms. Winiarski, what about 115304E? You wanted a statement from the applicant?
correct, okay.
Certification.
Statement from applicant.
That's item number 2, okay?
And striking certification,
Yes.
thank you. Going on to 1153.05,
Point of order, Madam President.
Yes,
Could we just move to amend as discussed, and then when this moves on to the second reading, we can look at all the changes, all the grammar, all of the edits, and then we can either amend again in the second reading and pass it on, or if it's good, we can move it on to the next reading. To me, for us editing this spot by spot on the floor, to me, should be either done in committee or done outside. For us to sit during, and other people here, to sit through a line by line editing, just to me, is not a productive use of council and community's time.
thank you very much. Mr. Miller, you may proceed. Mr.
okay,
Winarski.
thank you. Next was 1153.05, changing the word special to community,
This is on the fourth line down.
correct.
Okay?
Okay. That'd be item number 3, go on.
Okay, then we're gonna drop the word and
Yes,
on letter D.
yes. Item number 4, go on.
Okay, on page 5, letter K, we're gonna include the comma in between street and highway,
Yes. Item number 5, okay?
okay? And then add letter C into 1153.12,
Yes.
that was a private property
It's number 6.
language.
Yep.
That's it.
That's all I have them marked as 1 through 6.
Thank you very much for everyone for your patience, I appreciate it.
Okay, very good. I have those items. I'm going to make sure between Mrs. Selinsky and myself, we've got them now. Mr. Dembinski.
I will second that motion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to amend as detailed item 18-28. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Nahorn?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Janik?
Yes.
Mr. Ventura?
Yes.
Mr. Dembinski?
Yes.
Mr. Cowger?
Yes.
Mr. Winarski?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Motion carries 7-0. Mr. Dembinski.
Thank you. Even as amended, I did have one other question. Section 1153.10. This deals with the vending zones that may be set up by the safety service director. The intention is still that anybody that would operate in these zones would have to follow everything that's laid out here and get all the applicable permits and everything, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mr. Cowger.
I'd like to make a motion to move this item on to the second reading,
Thank you very much. Mr. Dembinski.
as amended, I'm
That's
sorry.
Mr. Dembinski.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to send this item 6A on to the second reading as amended. Comments or questions further? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Nahorn?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Janik?
Yes.
Mr. Ventura?
Yes.
Mr. Dembinski?
Yes.
Mr. Cowger?
Yes.
Mr. Winarski?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Item 6A is carried on to the second reading. Thank you very much. Item 7, ordinances and resolutions, second reading. There are none. Item 8A, 8, ordinances and resolutions, third reading. Item 8A, please.
An ordinance approving the final subdivision plat for the preserve at Quarry Lakes Phase 3.
I'd make the motion to adopt.
Mr. Van Trump.
Second that.
There's a motion and a second to adopt. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Hayhorn?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Janik?
Yes.
Mr. Van Turen?
Yes.
Mr. Domzinski?
Yes.
Mr. Cowger?
Yes.
Mr. Benarski?
Yes.
Vote is 7-0, motion is adopted.
Move the ordinance 01823.
Thank you very much. We'll go on to item 9, miscellaneous and acknowledgement of the public, item 9A, please.
That's consideration of an additional D1, D2, D3, D3A, D5, and D6 liquor permits for the Economic Development Project TREX.
Mr. Mayor.
When I saw this permit come before council clerk, it looked like something new we hadn't seen before. So actually, council clerk and myself called the liquor control board and talked about it a little bit. This is something we haven't seen. This is an actual proposal from this person that has bought the building on the corner. We have none of these liquor permits available in our city. We are out of this type of liquor permit. So by state law, it allows people like this to obtain one of these permits in an area where there's too many and bring them to an area like ours if they can prove economic development. And on this form, he's shown that they're going to spend $340,000 on this building, going to bring 35 new jobs to the city of Amherst, $100,000 in sales tax, over $5,000 in property taxes, and that's not even including the income tax that those 35 new jobs would bring to Amherst. So found this very interesting that this is something we can do. We always think we can't bring new liquor permits to town. I talked to the police chief, and the police chief thought about it. He really thinks the positive impacts on our community with these new jobs in all way outweighs this type of business that would bring trouble to town. A nice restaurant with this isn't the type of place that we would typically have a lot of trouble when they have a liquor permit. My understanding of this, the mayor can approve this if he thinks there's, or she or whoever would think that there's significant proof that this is economic development. I still think there's some process that goes on at the state board. I don't know if just because we approve this, it's a done deal or not, but this really is my intention to sign this. I was just wanting to see if council had any objections and or comments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You contacted Mr. Zeller, correct?
I have not.
Okay.
I'm trying to
Oh,
stay.
I'm
I'm
sorry,
trying to
Mrs.
stay impartial.
Savinsky
We
did.
contacted the
Okay.
liquor control board.
Mrs. Savinsky.
So I really wanted to look at this impartially as
Okay.
far,
The
but
clerk of
this
council.
is his economic development sheet. It's the only information that I have.
asked him to attend, just in case there were any questions directly for him. And thank you, you and I were on the same phone conversation together and explained it very well. Because in all the years I've been council clerk, I've never seen this form. That's why I called the liquor control board and I said, I don't think this is right, but it is. It's
Our
very new.
Our downtown is growing, and this really is a unique opportunity to bring a really nice business to our downtown area. So like I said, I plan on supporting this unless I hear some extreme objections.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Zeller, since you made the trip here, would you like to go to the microphone and talk a little bit about your business? You'll need to state your name and your address, please.
My business address or my?
It can be your business address.
I was more than I was asking. I was just trying to see foot traffic. And the reason I'm looking for foot traffic is we're sitting on a downtown area that is just congested at that time. Now, what time would your business be open?
We are open 11 to 11 during summer hours and 11 to 10 in off-season hours.
Okay. Because that's going to strike good for the day. I guess another lunch opportunity. But when the evening comes, it's going to be packed. I mean, you're coming into a heart of no traffic area. I shouldn't say no traffic, excuse me, no parking area, high traffic.
Are you familiar with where we're at in downtown Sandusky?
No, but I am familiar with where you're coming to on 105 Park Avenue, and there's very little parking
It's
available.
really about the same. Right downtown, there isn't very much parking available. About 3 blocks away, there's like the Jackson Street, and then a block away we have a smaller parking garage. but people find a way. I mean, I think that downtown Amherst is a lot like downtown Sandusky. There's, 8 to 12 different places that people will come down and find a spot to park, and then they'll kind of hit 3, 4, 5 different spots that they want to try, and it becomes like a destination point for just like downtown Sandusky, which would, I have customers of mine that come out this way, and they love, going to Brew Kettle and Ziggy's and.
By no means am I persuading you not to come in and attempt to open this. I'm just giving you a heads up that if you have even 10 employees in the building at a time, you don't even have a place to park your employees, let alone parking customers. We are just packed when it comes to parking. This is an issue that we've been fighting. We don't have a solution yet. There's municipal parking behind the Amherst Cinema. There's an open spot. There's some on the other side of the bridge, but it right now is pretty congested. And a lot of times when we ask for people to come down and you're going to put money into the building, I just don't know if you've considered where you're going to park employees and customers, because it is a very difficult location to open up. So just keep that in mind, and maybe you'll come to us with some solutions on that as well.
Well, I don't know if council knows that the restaurant is not the only thing that we're going to be doing with the building. Our first phase is actually upstairs. We are turning upstairs into 6 different offices with a shared bathroom and conference room. So those won't be apartments anymore. Those will be open for commercial businesses too.
I mean, that's great. I love the fact that income tax coming down here, increasing the value of the property. It's great, but there's a lack of parking right now. So good luck with that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. I yield the floor.
Mr. Van Truren.
There was a time when I first came on council that I was really against any new liquor licenses downtown because I felt there were too many in a small area. In retrospect, that was a pretty stupid thing for me to be against. I watched new establishments come in since then. They've added a lot of class and fun, and I think really great things to downtown. I'm excited that you're coming in. I want to commend you for doing the work to figure out how to get this done. The Trex economic development issue here, I think it's terrific. Wish you lost a lot. You're only going to sell beer, or?
No, we'd have a full liquor license.
Okay, well, I'll be there for tacos and tequila sometime. I wish you luck.
Sounds good.
Mr. Miller does make a good point about parking. I'm sure you have that all in the back of your mind, but wish you the best. I hope you do have parking problems if it's because there's a lot of customers coming in. We appreciate it. Okay, no problem.
Mr. Winarski and Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam President. First of all, welcome to Amherst.
Thank you.
Glad you chose us. They're spot on. There's parking. It's tight with the parking. I don't know if you've met across the street Mr. Coleman, who owns a gas station.
I have not met him. I've met our neighbors, Fraley and Fox, and then I've met Paul across the street at Giuseppe's.
Okay. In addition to that, the VFW, the commander's name is John Penna. They may be able to help you, at least if you'd like. I'd be happy to make the introduction to those two.
Absolutely.
And if nothing else, I'm sure they'd like to meet their new neighbor, and maybe you guys can work something out with employee parking or something.
Well, with construction starting hopefully in the next week or two, you'll be seeing me a lot in downtown. So.
Okay. Well, before you go, take my card and be in touch. Thank you. Welcome again. Thank you.
Mr. Janik.
It's great to see new businesses come downtown. I just had a question relating to the descriptions of the different D1, D2, D3. I don't see one for D6.
D6? I believe D6 was my fault.
And I'm referring to the description page that gives us a description of what exactly we've done.
No, just a point of information, Mr. Janik.
You happen to know what D6 is?
Mr. Janik.
I believe D6.
Mr. Demby.
Safety Service Director to lease to own the purchase of a 2018 Case 721G loader for the street department in an amount not to exceed $185,000. And that's the only item I have. Nice.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Finance, Mr. Calver.
Yes, I'd like to call the Finance Committee meeting for June 25th at 6:30 prior to the council meeting. And on that, I would like A 1830 as read. And that is complete.
That's the 25th.
The 25th at 6:30.
Building and Lands, Mr. Winarski.
Thank you, Madam President. For the administration, 2 weeks ago, we had discussed off-street parking, and it was being revisited by the law department. Another 2 weeks, be ready, or are we ready now?
We're
or-
ready. We're ready. You should see a sample of that tomorrow.
Okay, how long do you think we'd need for this? The reason, if we just called for the 25th, which is in advance of a council meeting.
Oh,
we could-
I see. I would call for a meeting next Monday. You might see an additional agenda item,
Okay,
if that's okay.
okay. With that, yeah, I guess I would like to call A1829. Would I want to go 7 o'clock, or should we ask Mr. Cowger if you'd like to move his to the same day?
Mr. Calver, would you like yours at 7 o'clock?
It doesn't matter. We got to be here to, we cover everything,
Well,
so
let's call finance for 7, and we can call yours.
that's fine.
7:05.
7:05, please. Thank you very much. That's all, Madam President.
What was the item number? What was the,
A1829?
which, could you give me a title so we know?
Sure. An ordinance to amend Amherst Codified 1145-14, off-street parking and loading.
11:45:14,
Yep.
so that way I can look it up ahead of time. Thank you.
Is that complete, Mr. Winarski?
It is, thank you.
Thank you very much. Streets, Mr. Van Troy.
No items at this time, please.
Community Development, Mr. Miller.
No items, please cancel.
Executive, Mr. Miller.
No items, please cancel.
Ordinance, Mr. Dembinski.
No items at this time, Madam President, please cancel.
Thank you. Utilities, Mr. Janik.
No items, Madam President, please cancel.
Recycle, Mr. Nahon.
Please keep recycling.
Technology, Mr. Dembinski.
No items at this time, Madam President, please cancel.
Police and Fire, Mr. Winarski.
Nothing at this time, Madam President.
Annexation, Mr. Van Troy.
Nothing this time, Madam President, please cancel.
Thank you very much. I will go to item 11, reports of the administration. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Pita?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sent out the monthly financial reports, I believe, last week, and so you should all have those for your review. If you have any questions, please let me know. I've also just received today the first draft of the CAFR from our CPA group, BHN CPA group. So as soon as we get our comments back, we will send it off to our auditor for their review. So thank you, and that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Mr. Ramsey?
Thank you. Our May reports have been distributed as well, and my report.
Thank you. Mr. Pecora?
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Jeffries?
No report, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Just one quick comment. I'm sure you noticed the amount of road construction that's going on right now. The park road that was being worked on, actually that closure lasted less than expected, so that's open now. You can walk past and see where that retention pond's being dug. It's all fenced off fairly safely. North Main's going well. You know, if anybody's been close to that project, that pipe's 14 foot in the ground, so this is quite a project. A lot of trucks running in and out of town, so give these construction guys a little bit of room, be a little patient. I know it's irritating that we can't, you know, drive directly to our house sometimes, and there's some detours. We're doing our best to publicize the detours best we can. Sometimes there's some real short closures that we might not get real good signage, but in order to improve the streets as much as we're improving this year, I really hope we can endure a little bit of inconvenience. So thanks for your patience, everyone. End of report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Dembinski.
Move to accept the reports of the administration.
Mr. Nahon.
Second.
There is a motion and a second to accept the reports of the administration. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion is carried 7-0. The reports of the administration. Motion is carried and the reports of the administration are accepted. Mrs. Dembinski has.
Mrs. How's Mrs. doing down there?
Thanks.
Mrs. Savinsky has suggested that we ask if there are any members of council who object to the granting of this liquor license?
Just for the record,
Just for the record, if there are any formal, if there are individuals.
so there are no objections.
Seeing there are no objections. Thank you. We'll go to item 12, acknowledgement of the receipt of the monthly reports from the auditor and the treasurer. Mr. Dembinski,
Move to acknowledge the reports from the auditor and treasurer.
Mr. Calder.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to acknowledge the receipt of the monthly reports from the auditor and the treasurer. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Second.
There's a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion is carried 7-0. We are adjourned at